Hey guys, I'm Tommy Nichols, Blue Collar Voice of Santa Rosa County. I've been asked to come out here tonight and moderate this event here with Mr. Ken Garner. And you guys know me, I'm fair, square, right down the middle, always have been, always will be. My stance on this is, as you all know, it's not my fight. I'm from North Santa Rosa County, this is Navarre's fight. It's in your hands. All I'm doing is moderating the event. So with that said, Mr. Rudman.
Tommy, I want to thank you for agreeing to come out. I know this is less than optimal conditions, what with that hurricane churn out there. As Tommy said, we also have a special guest in Ken Garner, who's worked for the Navarre Press. Ken is an outspoken critic of the Incorporation effort. So Ken's come with some biting questions as well. We have a small studio audience who have braved the elements to come here tonight. You know, I want to thank the members of the panel that are here this evening. You know, I kind of feel like we're kind of treading on cautious ground here. You know, with that hurricane out there in the Gulf, Helene. You know, I walked into the facility here this evening. There's a big sign in the lobby that says "Home of Jaws 2," and you know, we're sitting here. I kind of feel like we're shipmates on the Orca, you know, because we're sitting here wondering just how big is that shark. I guess we'll find out, and that's kind of how we're feeling about that hurricane. So, our thoughts and prayers go to those people that end up in the path of this hurricane. Hopefully, it's not us. Hopefully, it's not our neighbors in Mary Esther or Destin or 30A or. But again, whoever gets this monster, we're thinking of you this evening. So knowing that we're out here, knowing that we are shipmates on the Orca, so to speak, we're going to really kind of open this round table up. You know, last time we had a pretty good round table where it was pretty structured, and we had experts from Crestview and from surrounding cities, Destin, et cetera. Tonight's round table, we're very privileged to have citizens from the actual catchment area itself who have agreed to come here this evening and provide their knowledge and their expertise on why they're joining the fight. And again, I know a lot of people right now are putting their hurricane shutters up, and a lot of people are skipping town. I appreciate that y'all felt it was worth an hour to come here this evening and share y'all's concerns and y'all's stance on the issues. So without further ado, let me introduce everybody. We have Frank Lamb, who's a local business owner here in what would become the city of Navarre Beach. Frank, now you're on the mainland. Now you're next to Miss Terry Masters, who's a business owner on Navarre Beach on the island. And so they can certainly give their perspective as local business owners on what they've seen in the community and what they're looking forward to happening to the area. To my left here, we have Mr. Jim Sutton, who is the president of the Navarre Beach Leaseholders, an important group on Navarre Beach. Jim, you know, we had a few questions 2 weeks ago about Navarre Beach's role in everything and about how there's this rumor going around that the beach doesn't want any part of it. So hopefully you can kind of speak to that and talk about what the beach's concerns are. Yes. And then we do have our city expert, so to speak, down there at the far left, Mr. Scott Moneypenny, who's a former city council member in the city of Laurel Hill, which is in District 3. I'm proud to represent Laurel Hill. And so, Scott, we're hoping that when people ask questions, you know, what's the benefit of the city? What do my taxes do compared to just being on it? We're hopeful that you can kind of educate us on, well, here's Laurel Hill's experience, or here's traditionally what happens. Here's how you come up with a budget, etc. And, you know, without further ado, Tommy, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Like I said, this is a collegial environment. We got some people here in the studio audience who are undecided voters. I know the camera's facing us, not facing out. But for a quick show of hands, can anybody raise your hand if you came here knowing that you wanted to incorporate tonight? All right, so we got about maybe 3-4 people who want to incorporate. Can you raise your hand if you just simply wanted more information? You're undecided. All right, so that would be the majority. That'd be about 5 or 6 people. Can you raise your hand if there's nothing I can say tonight that would make you even consider incorporation? One person. All right, so there we go. So we have a pretty good audience tonight. And again, just so everybody knows, right? Tommy mentioned earlier about being fair and balanced. I want everybody to know the audience is selected from people who either follow me on Facebook or they're people that are top. In other words, these are people that I know have an active interest in politics. There are some people who make comments on Facebook that say, hey, I'm against incorporation. Just know that I reached out to those people first and said, hey, we would love to have you in the audience because, we don't believe in echo chambers here. We want to reach out to people who are maybe hearing misinformation. I want you to know, especially to my one representative in the back, who says I'm against incorporation. I actually invited about 4 other people who were dead. Basically people that I've known for 15 years who post on Facebook say I'm against it. I said, you're exactly who we're looking for. Come tonight. Oh, I'm too busy tonight. So I just want you to know kind of the backstory on that. Without further ado, Tommy, take her away.
Okay, I gotta say, from what I've heard talking about, I've heard, of course, both sides of the argument, and when you get on Facebook, social media, the big thing you hear is, we're gonna be killed with taxes, more and more taxes. I am taxed enough, okay? And Mr. Ken has some questions here, and I believe you're gonna cover that in there as well.
That's one of the questions, yes.
Okay, with that said, Mr. Ken, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. Thanks for being here, everyone. We want to not go over an hour, so let's get right into it. These first set of questions come from one of the members of our audience, a resident who I believe is looking favorably upon incorporation, but he does have enough questions that he felt like he wanted to submit these. I'd also like to say that I believe whatever platform you're watching this live stream on, I think you can comment and ask questions, and we have people monitoring to see if we have any questions from people out there.
We're on, I believe we're on Blue Collar Voice. So hopefully we got people following there. We've got maybe Preserve Navarre has a site up. And then there's Dr. Joel Rudman for Florida House. So all 3 of those are being monitored.
Okay, thank you, Doc. So this first question, we talked about this, I think, somewhat at the first panel. And I'm not sure how much we really want to get into this tonight. But the first question is, what is the October 12th vote about, and what does it mean? And I think it's really important. There seems to be an idea in the public, at least on social media, that this vote can make or break what happens with incorporation. So, Representative Rudman, would you like to take that one?
So, and so to my lady and gentlemen that are on the panel, when these questions come out, if it's a question you feel passionately about, if it's something that pertains to you, please jump in. And we're opening this to all panel members, but obviously with a question regarding the how you follow through on inquiry, obviously that's a question for me. So thank you, Ken, for that question. I do think that's an important question. What people need to understand is that this is basically an opinion poll on October 12th. When I was elected into office to represent the 3rd District, they didn't elect a tyrant. The people of the 3rd, they didn't elect a king. They didn't say, well, we trust Rudman's judgment. Let him do whatever he pleases, and we'll just deal with it later. The way I approach legislation, the way I approach governing is we're there to do the will of the people. As Tommy alluded to earlier, right now we have this cacophony of voices in the Navarre area. And frankly, a lot of the people screaming the loudest don't live here. And so for your state representative to know what's the true wishes of the people of Navarre, I actually wanted kind of an opinion poll. And as y'all know, y'all have been following along, I wanted it to be a more formal process. When I got elected and people asked me, what's going to be your position regarding incorporation? I said, I'm going to do what the people want. Well, how are you going to know what the people want? Well, nowhere in statute does it say that they have to get petitions signed. Nowhere in the Florida statutes does it say that they have to have a non-binding referendum. But that was my assertion. I said, you know what? In addition to coming up with a city charter, in addition to coming up with a feasibility study, I'm going to make you prove to me that you have majority support. So again, if people don't like this October 12th ballot, that's squarely on me. That is a proposition that I put forward on the Preserve movement. Without that imposition, that bill could have already been passed through this last session. This is an extra hurdle because I believe in being very deliberate, Ken. I don't want to do anything that the people of Navarre do not want. And so let's be clear on that. When you talk about this opinion poll, that is just giving me permission to pursue moving forward. It is not legally binding. It does not It does not force Navarre into a situation that they might regret later. In other words, after this straw poll, if there is a favorable vote, they've already turned in their feasibility study to the legislature. That's currently being dissected with a fine-tooth comb. So when we get to session in March, this opinion poll gives me the right to go ahead and craft a bill regarding incorporation. That bill then has to make it through at least 2 committees in the legislature, usually 3, so it could be 2 or 3. It then has to be passed by the entire Florida House of Representatives, has to be approved by the Senate. All this will take until May, and then it comes back to Navarre for a binding vote. So in other words, we're not even putting our toe in the water yet. I am not going to waste my time jumping through all those hoops, doing all that work, if the people of the community do not want to incorporate. So that's why it's important to turn out October 12th.
Can I make one quick
Go ahead.
point? Just to follow up, Dr. Rudman, you have said, correct me if I'm wrong, you have said that if this straw poll shows that there is a majority of people who are not interested in incorporating, that you will not introduce it at any time
Exactly.
during your tenure.
Exactly. I'm way too busy to be fighting the same fight over. I just need to know what the people want. I gave the option to the constituents that were asking me to incorporate. I said, you get one shot. When do you want your shot? Is it time? Do you want to wait 6 years? They said, we want our shot now. So if it were to fail, every member of this panel and every member of the audience here tonight knows the Preserve movement asked for that vote now.
And just another quick follow-up to that, that is as long as you hold office.
Yes.
And I believe, we have people from Preserve Navarre here, I believe they have also said that they will abide by the wishes of this vote. Even if that's true and you're both good to your word, and I have no reason to think you would not be, will this vote keep another group from campaigning for incorporation, or keep the next representative, when that happens, from promoting incorporation, a bill incorporating Navarre?
So obviously I can't speak to what future representatives may or may not do. If a group down the road says, well, now we're taking up the mantle, we have a better charter, look, we've been there, done that. Again, I don't believe in rehashing old arguments. When you look at my brief tenure in the legislature, you see that I usually don't run the same bill 2 years in a row unless I strongly believe in it. So they knew the odds, they knew the stakes. These are high stakes. We're not going to keep rehashing this year after year.
One point, Tommy, I know you have a question.
Go ahead.
One final point on the October 12th straw
Sure.
vote. If voters approve the straw poll, and Preserve Navarre and yourself, your staff, are successful in shepherding a bill through the legislature, we come to a binding legal referendum, and that vote fails, what is the effect that has on the incorporation effort?
That bill would be dead. So that bill would not see new life in it, because again, that's really what this is all about. It's all about doing the wishes of the people, and it's that final, it's that binding referendum, which is truly the will of the people. So we are just taking very deliberate steps to get to that point. But again, everybody out there watching, everybody in this room understands one shot at this. And again, Ken, if I were to speculate, would a future representative even pick this up? Let's say 10 years down the road. It's hard to tell. I think it matters more to me because I'm a resident of Navarre. I'm the first ever elected official in Tallahassee from Navarre. And so to me, I can't leave the house without people saying, what are we going to do? How do we get sidewalks? How do we get better parks? How do we keep more of our money in our community? And so I think to me, I probably hear it more than, say, a future representative from Milton, for example.
Okay. Next question from our audience member, and this is very basic. I'm going to add a little bit to it. He says, what is a feasibility study? And I would like to ask, if this vote is successful and the feasibility study proposed by Preserve Navarre does go to the legislature, does go first of all, I guess, to the our legislative delegation, will they be able to work in real time to address concerns the legislative staff might have? Is that a process of building a new feasibility study or building a new charter? Or is this, they look at it and say no, and then you're gonna have to wait until another session of the legislature?
So I think this would be a good time. I'll answer that question, but Jim, if you wanna jump in with some concerns maybe that Navarre Beach residents would have about how feasible it is to incorporate, or Scott, with your experience with Laurel Hill, what, the things Laurel Hill had to address, is it feasible to become a city? So
Sure.
As it pertains to me, this is definitely a fluid process. In other words, when my constituents first came to me and they said, hey, we've got this 130-page feasibility study, I said, I'm not gonna waste my time. You go prove to me that you have support, and then I'll stay up late at night reading a 130-page book. When I got criticized for that, I went ahead and read a 130-page book, and I made recommendations to the group. I said, not a fan, not a fan. And of course, they've been accepting constructive criticism this entire process. So at any step of the game, well, actually, you know what? Let me backtrack just a second. You asked, what is a feasibility study? Think of it, those of you that have ever run your own business, I run a small business, I run a medical clinic. For me to get a loan from the bank to finance my business, I've come up with a business plan. No bank's just gonna give you money, and no legislature's just gonna approve a city if you can't pay for a city. So what a feasibility study is, it's like a business plan. Think of it that way. You say, hey, I've got this plan, we think we're gonna raise this much money, and we're gonna have this much expenses, and here's how we believe we're gonna be a success. Well, so any of you that have ever run a business, I know we've got my friend Frank right down here who's got his own package. So Frank, you know what that's like. Yes. Now, if you remember when you first opened, are you bound and gagged to follow that I mean, you put things in a business plan that maybe were a good idea at the time, but then when you actually come to fruition, you're like, well, I can't really offer that. I know with my medical practice, I thought I was going to be doing stress tests. Then when I found out you don't really get paid for stress tests, I said, well, I ain't buying a treadmill. Am I right? Business plans are flexible, aren't they?
Absolutely, you have to be flexible. You can't just offer just one thing on the menu. You have to learn that your field does more than just one thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to understand that, yes, my field that I'm in that you're offering right now, yes, I also do, and so does your competitors. They also do A, B, C, D, and E. And you have to make sure that you can do those as well.
And Terry, when you first opened your business on Navarre Beach, did it look identical to how it looks today, or did you have to figure out what worked for you and what didn't work?
I had to start selling hot dogs in the front parking lot for 2 years to get the money to get into the store, and they made it very difficult for me. I called this the Wild Wild West of Florida because nobody cares about what happens to us up here in this corner. I'm sorry. I've watched and paid attention. I'm going on my 14th year with my business, and I have been nothing but harassed and beaten up for 11 of the 14 years.
Now, when you say not much happens up here in the Panhandle and not much attention is paid, I want to hit on that because that's the other thing. So I believe someone asked me as I was walking, well, what are the benefits? Like, what's the big benefit that I wouldn't know about? And Terry, one of the benefits, you can imagine the state has a budget. That budget is collected by the state of Florida. We have to spend that money somewhere. Now, we can spend it in Miami-Dade, which is what we currently do, or we can spend some of it here in Navarre. The only problem is Navarre is not currently incorporated, so it's the county commissioners that have to ask for those appropriations. I don't know about you, but I feel like there's a sizable percentage of the Navarre community that would like to have maybe a city council, maybe a mayor, someone who can come visit their state representative in Tallahassee, who also happens to be from Navarre, and say, Dr. Rudman, here's our wish list of 10 things that we would like. These appropriations, we know we're not going to get them all, but can you try and get us some money for Navarre? So I appreciate you bringing that point up. Jim, what are your thoughts on a feasibility study? Did Navarre Beach look at that feasibility study? Did they have any concerns or any changes or anything that y'all wanted in there that made it, or anything that didn't make it?
So, allow me to add a comment to the question as it was posed first.
Sure.
Joel. I'm sure Preserve Navarre would hope that it's a two-way discussion with the state. We're the experts on what the laws of the state of Florida are, and interpreting those as in their role of evaluating the charter and the feasibility study. So I certainly would hope that if they say, oh, your salary level for a city manager is too low, it's that, you know, it doesn't meet market conditions, that they'd feed that in, and there'd be ability to say, okay, well, do you think if it was 20,000 more, it'd be feasible? I would hope there'd be a two-way street, because it's too important to certainly the residents of Navarre and Navarre Beach, but also the state as a whole to ignore a city's request for incorporation without good reason. So I personally hope there'd be a two-way street. Now, to answer your question, sir, the residents on the beach, the board of MBLRA took in detail a discussion of the Preserve Navarre's feasibility study, and many of the changes that are in this interaction are in because they asked more people what some of the concerns were. Things like being able to charge for parking on county-owned land out there didn't pass the red face check. And so those things, they accepted that. We gave them other input, and I think as a first blush of does income cover revenue, and is that feasible on those assumptions, that it meets that test. But someone might say, are the salaries enough, are the revenues enough, are incomes going to come in the time frame expected? Who knows, really? Similarly, another group of residents on Navarre Beach who were really disappointed in treatment by the Santa Rosa County Board of County Commissioners over the last 2 years. Most specifically because of the RV park, but also because of infrastructure, of crowding on the beach, of code enforcement that doesn't exist on the island unless somebody in the planning department wants it to. So I think that there was a groundswell after the RV park treatment by the Board of County Commissioners to 120 people that went up there, that just said we need our own representation, because the county has a huge geographic area that it has to manage. And so it can't focus on, 2 or 3 miles of the beach, but residents at the beach would tell you that it's important because there's a lot of revenue that's generated off the beach that benefits the county, that isn't even coming back for improving roads, improving bridges, improving flooding, improving electrical utilities that get destroyed in a storm with a good stormwater plan. None of that is going on in a comprehensive way. And I think that's why some people in Navarre Beach said, to ensure we have the representation, let's look if it's feasible. And right now they're still looking to see whether the smaller community of Navarre Beach makes sense, or whether the larger combined group of Navarre with 45,000 people makes more sense.
So that feasibility study for Navarre Beach is still underway. Is that, I was going to ask that later, but is that true?
Yes, so the feasibility study has come back with a financial plan, the actual numbers of the feasibility study, and that looked at all the goes-inas and goes-outas that are available at a state level to a city and what those potential revenues are, and understood the level of services that can be provided in a small city. The follow-on to that, the phase 3, was a SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which was where the company performing the analysis did a lot of surveys of homeowners, business owners, et cetera, to say, what do you think the strengths, what do you think the weaknesses, what do you think opportunities are, and what do you think might be threats or things that you can't fix? And that process has been collected and provided back to the people that are running it. And now they're going to really understand that and plot what their next steps are.
Well, and Tommy, just to clarify, so I represent what would be the city of Navarre. I live on the
Right.
mainland. The way the district lines were drawn recently, if you live on the beach side, you are not my constituent. So in other words, when you talk about possibility, like for example, as Jim was referring, there's a small group of people on Navarre Beach that want to discuss the feasibility of incorporating 300 people. And frankly, there are certain parameters you have to meet to even be eligible
Right.
for incorporation. So to be clear, any questions dealing with, are we looking at incorporating 200 people versus 45,000? That would be a different representative. That would not go through my office. So anyone who's watching or anyone who's concerned about, I kind of want to make a town out of my little neighborhood here on that would not be my call. That would be a totally different office, totally different bill, totally different representative. But Scott, I want to include you in this because Jim said maybe when you worked for Laurel Hill, maybe you were underpaid. What do you? But give us an idea. What was your salary for Laurel Hill and
Salary for Laurel Hill?
Yeah.
$1,200 a year.
Wow. Did you guys have any trouble finding city council members?
On and off.
Really?
Yeah, so, again, Scott Moneypenny, got a couple things, a bunch of years of service in the military, spent a lot of time around the government. Spent 8 years on the Laurel Hill City Council, learned a lot. And some of the things that people may want to look at is go out to other cities. Everybody that's pro, go to the other cities. Like I've got Crestview. When I got elected to council, I can tell you, anybody that's going to be in a city or run a city, there's no handbook that comes with it. Again, I like the military because I have orders, I have regulations, I have SOPs. Go to a city and you're drinking through a fire hose in a heartbeat. So go to your other cities about the same size of what you would be becoming and see how they operate, how they run, and you'll get a good taste of,
It's true.
how are we gonna take this on? I mean, honestly, because when I got elected, I got elected, great. Comes with no guidebook. So I went to every single city council meeting in Walton County, which is only 3. I went to all of them, only 3, yeah, only 3. I went to
Funiac, Freeport,
yeah, and don't forget the other one.
not my district.
Oh, Paxton is yours, but, so I went to all of them. Yeah, so Paxton, and then in Oakland County, I went to every city council meeting, and there's 9 cities, of course my own, and then the other 8, and then ventured over to other places, and you'll find out that there's so much to it. Again, I want to just say an innocent bystander in this.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say per se. I'm not no con, no pro. I just want to give some ideas of what I have run into.
Yeah.
Being on a city
What to
council.
expect.
What to expect. One thing I will say for anybody that's pro city, this book right here. Anybody seen this? You know who wrote it? Quinn wrote it. So when it comes time to making a city happen, that man knows what to do. That's why Pensacola is where it's at today. It's Quint's student.
Are you saying he should have had your spot on the panel tonight?
If you did
Next one.
Next
Yeah,
item.
next
Okay,
one.
gotcha.
So
That's a good idea.
I do have a couple questions. So you're saying that book right there, and you're talking about somebody here locally. I have a few things that I need to ask, and
That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna pivot and see.
I asked them because here's the thing. I have a few questions that I know a lot of people are thinking. Why is it, because I'm from a small town in Nebraska, only a few hundred people in Nebraska. My hometown's incorporated, whatever. If you have something wrong, hey, go to the city. Hey, can we get A, B, and C fixed? If I get a pothole in my road out here, I have to go, you can't get somebody online. They're like, hey, go online on the internet, fill out, A, B, and C. Maybe you'll get it fixed. Good luck. Okay? We have all kinds of things. And then, like I said, lots of people, this is a military community. Everybody knows that. People come from everywhere. What do you mean Navarre's not incorporated? What do we gotta do? What do you mean we gotta go vote on it? Why do we have to go jump through all of these hoops? And you can answer this. Why do we have to jump through all of these hoops to get incorporated so we can all vote on where we want our money spent?
Right.
Why do we have to jump through all of these hoops? No, I don't want my money to go here. Hey, show of hands. How many people here know people that come from across the country, wherever it is? Nobody comes, sorry, nothing against Milton. Nobody comes across the country on vacation to Milton. They go to Navarre Beach, Navarre, Gulf Breeze. That's all I'm saying. That's where it goes. And then they spend all their money. Where does that money go? I don't know how it gets spent after that, but then we have to go and ask for it back?
Well, so Frank, I'll handle both of those. So I actually think those are two questions in one. Number one, you were asked about all the hoops just to get this far. Understand that Florida is a Republican supermajority, and we believe in fiscal responsibility. So I just want everyone here to know, after 2 years of training. Oh, absolutely. So after 2 years experience in Tallahassee, I can tell you, the state of Florida is not in the business of churning out towns, cities, and villages. It's just not what we do. There has to be a good reason. Having said that, that's why I would caution these residents who are on the beach side who want to take this a step further. Why do we want to share it with
Navarre's been around since the late 90s.
Yeah,
It's nothing new. I got here in 99.
So the 5 people on Navarre Beach who think that they want to be their own, again, I would caution them that this is a tough road. This is a difficult road to travel, and I don't think, again, the state is in the business of creating town after. So again, it's arduous for a reason. Now, to your point about where the dollars go and what you have to do to get from A to B, that is one of the reasons I'm holding this question and answer session, because when I was a private citizen, I was just like you. I was just like, incorporate, look, I could care less. Whatever happens. How does it affect me? Then when you're in the legislature, all the people you're talking about who don't have time to go to Milton Board of County Commissioner meetings, all the people who have to work for a living, who can't be at Milton at 9 a.m. to discuss the pothole in their road, guess who they take those complaints to? They take them to me. And Frank, the situation is, I am not running for county commissioner. I am not running for mayor of Navarre. I'm a state representative. So these poor folks in Navarre, they come to me a lot of times because I'm the only one that will listen to them. 2 quick examples. Someone came to me about a washed out ditch in front of their business. I called Florida Department of Transportation and took care of it. I asked them I said, was this my job or should this have been someone else? Actually, Dr. Rudman, that should have been someone else. But thank you for, and again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just saying I think people in this area are taking it for granted that they're always going to have a representative from Navarre to look after them. Second example I'd like to give was someone who's dead set, I believe, against incorporation. They called, well, actually, they didn't call me. They saw me in the gym. They said, hey, the dedication sign to Highway 98, it's named after my deceased friend. Looks like a truck knocked it over yesterday. Could you get on that and fix that sign? So again, I called DOT that morning. It was fixed later that afternoon. And again, I asked Florida Department of Transportation, was this my job? Like, was this the proper channel to go through? And Florida Department of Transportation again said, well, normally that would have been her county. And again, not throwing anybody under the bus, but I would pose to you that I think people are maybe in a way getting a little spoiled that their state representative is from, and they know where to find me. They find me in the gym. They find me in Publix.
Nobody knows who is in charge of anything. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that is a big problem that we have moving forward.
And Terry, wouldn't you agree what Frank was saying? You'd much rather, if there is a local issue that I can't help you with, because a lot of these I can't, would you agree with Frank that, hey, instead of setting your timer to wake up at a certain time in the morning and be at a board meeting in Milton, wouldn't you rather walk down the street in Navarre Beach, knock on your council member's door and say, hey, I got a problem? Again, the best government is the one closest to you, wouldn't you agree?
I'm 99% tired of fighting them. And not to throw this in, but I'm gonna throw it in. I need to know why the water board was paid for on Navarre Beach 50 years ago, but yet now, me as a business owner, I pay $120 a month for water. And you know what? It doesn't matter whether I use a drop or not. And if you're a resident out there on that beach, you're gonna pay $100 a month. Doesn't matter whether you use a drop or not. These are things I want addressed, and I wanna know why.
Well, and again, to me, I get, as the representative from the area, I get all of these. We have constituent hours at our office where every day I don't eat lunch. I go to my district office and I meet with a different constituent every day who's got a problem. 9 times out of 10, Terry, they're not state issues. They're not mad at DeSantis. They're not mad at me. They're mad at how their community is run. And again, I think everybody here understands I'm a big fan of our current county. We just had a primary. We've got some new people coming in that I hold with the utmost respect. I think everybody on this panel thinks that we elected some good people this go round, and they're going to be sworn in November. But again, to me, it matters more if you're living on that street. It matters more, again, there are issues that come up where people ask me, well, if this is the county's job, why didn't they? I said, well, they probably weren't aware of it. Did you drive up to Milton and notify them? Did you call the office in Milton? So again, we're not blaming people. I love my county commissioner, Ray Eddington. I think Ray does a tremendous job. Jim, I appreciate you jumping in and saying that. So again, this is nothing personal. This is not anything against our sitting county commissioner or the current makeup of the county commission moving forward. It's just that we believe that Navarre has a series of problems that are unique to Navarre. And if any of you follow me on Facebook, Dr. Joel Rudman for Florida House, you'll see that from time to time, once every week or two, I'll post an issue that people have brought to me, Ken, that frankly, I can't help them with. The big brick wall on Coral and 98 where there's a T-bone accident at least every week. People say, fix this. And I go, and it's gonna take millions of dollars to move that pumping station. No one has ever come to me asking for an appropriation from the state to move that pumping station. And when I look further and I ask Holly Navarre Water System, when I ask Holly by the Sea, who's to blame? Who said put this here? It wasn't anybody that lived in Navarre. Holly by the Sea didn't say, yeah, put it wherever. Holly Navarre Water System didn't say, put it wherever. It was 5 elected men who meet in Milton. And why did they put it at the busiest intersection in Navarre? Because they don't have to drive by it every day. Again, not throwing those people under the bus who were here 20 years ago, but I think we can all say with hindsight that pumping station should have been at least a block off 98.
Sure.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So, I know, like I said, there's a lot of things out there. There's things that people say, oh, Incorporation can and can't take care of this. And I'm like, hey, there's a possibility of this. So we can say, people complain about, obviously we know the infrastructure. When it rains more than a couple inches, I have a pressure washing company. Lot of homes here in Navarre, when I wash their driveways, I have, a device that I have to suck the water up and get rid of it, because when I wash the driveways, that's just the way a lot of driveways are built like this in Navarre, okay? So we have a drainage issue here in Navarre. No sidewalks, street lights, infrastructure, things like that. We have, I have a 1-ton Dodge pickup, 3500 dually, okay? There's times when I'm driving down the road in Navarre that I have to drive off the road when I meet a vehicle because the road's not wide enough. Or I just don't want to, take the chance of, having contact with an oncoming vehicle.
Sure.
Things like that people are like, oh no, Incorporation's not gonna take care of that, or yes it is or isn't. Lots of things like that. A lot of people, the things they complain about our infrastructure, streets, sidewalks, drainage,
have
all of that. Can that be helped with Incorporation?
Well, and I think that's a good point, that these issues, even though they're countywide, I do think we have infrastructure issues that are unique to Navarre. One quick point, and then Terry, I want to make a comment to you. So Frank, on that point, I was just at a traffic roundtable at Hurlburt Field where we're talking about coming up with a solution for 98. Now, everyone agrees. You know, all hands are on deck. We all want to, for the first time in history, Eglin agrees that there's a problem. So we're making headway, right? Now, here's the problem, is that when we're there and people are saying, you know, boy, it's great to have this roundtable. We've got the city of Mary Esther, we got the city of Destin. They actually said at the last roundtable meeting, they said, thank you to the city of Navarre for coming. Well, there is no city. This problem directly affects Navarre, and if it weren't for me and a member of the community, Bart Pullum, who was sitting in the audience, there would have been no one from Navarre at that meeting. Terry, real quick, we're up against a time crunch.
Yeah.
When he talks about infrastructure, you must be sweating this storm being out on the beach, because you know the slightest bit of rain, if that thing, even if it's a tropical storm and it comes anywhere near the area, you're gonna be underwater.
I am underwater.
Okay,
I'm
Dr.
always
Rudman.
underwater,
We're on the
and
third-
nobody cares.
We gotta move on, guys.
Let's move.
Third
We've made it
question.
through 2 questions so far.
Let's go.
So, this actually, your conversation of the last few minutes has really highlighted one of the biggest issues that people are concerned about, and it's the cost of becoming a city. I know, for example, Mr. Lamb brought up the infrastructure needs we're facing. Everybody knows about storm drainage. We have a bridge that we're about to have to replace. There are all sorts of issues with infrastructure that could be fixed. He talked about street lights, road paving. To tie a couple of questions together here, Derek from online has asked us, how much can the typical family expect their taxes to go up? And I'm gonna hazard a guess that that is probably a question we can't answer at this point.
We could give them a ballpark. We can give them a ballpark, because at the last meeting, we had the mayor of Destin, Bobby Wagner, sitting there, and we point blank asked Bobby, who's a little bit better at math than I am. I said, Bobby, if I was living in unincorporated Okaloosa County versus Destin, what's the tax difference? And he gave me the millage rate. He said, Dr. Rudman, you know what you do? You take this millage rate, you times it by however much your house is valued for. He said, I was amazed to learn that if you lived in Destin versus unincorporated Destin, your taxes only go up by like $600. I mean, for a house that's which is a standard Holly by the Sea house. So using the millage rates that's proposed for the city of Navarre Beach, when I calculate my taxes, I live in a normal, average Holly by the Sea house on a normal, average Holly by the Sea street. Our family taxes will go up approximately $270 a year. So for the price of 4 meals when you eat out, you get to have more say in what happens in your community.
And I think what a lot of people would say, well, that depends on the millage rate staying what it is in the feasibility study.
Well, and that's why you have elected officials, to hold them to that, to hold them accountable.
Okay. Let's look at the infrastructure issue as a whole. That bridge, I forget how many millions and millions and millions of dollars it's going to cost, and there are other projects we need. The city eventually would need. Well, one of our earlier questions from the audience had to do with emergency services. So there will be costs incurred to provide these services. And I think maybe Mr. Moneypenny and his experience on the city council may be able to help us with that. One concern is the county and state will abandon the city of Navarre to handle these infrastructure needs, especially the bridge. Now, I know the county is already in the works of trying to figure out a plan to fund this bridge. I'm not sure how far along they are. But from your experience, sir, how is the city of Laurel Hills relationship with state and county?
It goes with who's elected, to be honest. It really does. It goes who's elected and how it's presented. There, between counties and cities, looking at the costs and so forth, and I've got most of them right here in front of me. You can be in a predicament either way. A city can support you, and a county can support you, but how your city government is run is key. Like I said, now, question, since I'm not from this area, that bridge is on what road?
It's a county road.
It's a county road, so it's a county's responsibility.
Right, they can't abdicate that.
So they can,
That's a
yeah.
non-issue
Unless they
for
want it
elected
cut off from the mainland, and that would be a
Right.
county decision, not
That should
not
be
a city.
a
So-
non-issue for elected
So it's the
local
county, so it's the county's
representatives.
responsibility. Now,
Misinformation.
there's a lot of other things that, to look at in what's going on here.
But does Okaloosa County, do they resent Laurel Hill for being incorporated? Is
No,
it tough to
it's
get
not.
along?
It's not tough to get along, but as soon as you incorporate, you are your own entity. You are now responsible, and as an elected official, I only really look at three things, and that's safety, security, and infrastructure. All of the fluff, the social programs, beyond, people hate me, I don't care, because ball fields and all the rest of the stuff that happened, that's the taxpayers that are using that percentage of a ball field or all these other parks is this much compared to, you guys have, your county alone has 208,000, right? 208,000 some people here. So when you put something in and it only focuses on this certain group of people, it's not fair to all the other taxpayers. So safety, security, and infrastructure, just like you said, your fire services, your law enforcement, your EMS, they all fall under different categories. So how are you gonna handle your law enforcement? Are you going to pay the Sheriff's Department from Santa Rosa County an enhanced fee? That's what Destin does. Well, Laurel Hill has none. And the reason being is we couldn't afford it.
Wow.
We could not afford it. Now, is the sheriff required by law to provide you with law enforcement? Yes, he is. So the sheriff will provide you, but will it be enhanced? Will it be enhanced if you don't pay for it? No, they're only gonna do so much. And then you have to look at your fire services and your EMS services, which are, depending on, I'm not sure how it's run here, but it's probably separate between EMS, because the majority of calls in the 911 are medical. The average is someplace around 60+% are medical, and then the other 40 are fire or extraction or something like that. But normally fire will show up to help. And so, can you have a good working relationship? Yes. Can you have a bad working relationship? Yes. And again, it goes just like the election just showed up. Okay, we have this election, we've elected new folks. Do we have a working relationship? I'm also a firm believer in term limits, because sometimes you can get people out and then you get a good person in. Right. And then sometimes we lose a good person, we get a person that doesn't even want to talk to you about infrastructure, safety, and security. It's going to be a huge undertaking.
Well, and I would like to say, just for the record, and Jim, chime in with your opinion, please. I want to say for the record that the feasibility study that I saw basically agrees with me. We have no gripes with the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Department or how they enforce the laws. So we are very pleased with our police. We are very pleased with our fire. We are very pleased with our rescue. So again, to be clear, I know people like to paint this. This is basically a community that's trying to decide, kind of like the American Revolution, right? Do we want a government closer to home, or do we want the king up in Milton to tell us what to do? So we like to think of it in those terms, right? This is not about, boy, we have a bone to pick with the sheriff, or we have a bone to pick with lifeguard. This is more about, do we want a government closer to us? And Jim, would you agree? Do the people on Navarre Beach have an issue with their fire, their rescue, their sheriff? I mean, we're quite happy here on the mainland.
I would say that all the issues that you raised are red herrings that someone wants to incite people's concerns about. They'll bring him up. The bridge. The bridge has nothing to do with the incorporation of the city of Navarre. It's a county and state negotiation on how that funding is going to be. The county certainly has an issue on how it approaches all large infrastructure, but that's not an issue for this. So the only people that want to bring that up want to throw fear, uncertainty, and doubt into an issue. We have the best fire department in the area on Navarre Beach. Danny Furr's fire department out there, he's getting grants for patrolling areas with boats and things that will provide services. We have a water department. We don't have to pay for those things. So it's the other things that we hope to achieve as a city that will be part of the funding.
Right. Guys, it is 8 minutes until 8, and I know that everyone here and anybody who's watching at home has other things they need to do. I think Tommy had a question, and then if it's okay with you guys, maybe open the floor to
Let's
questions.
do it, let's do it. Yeah, we can stay a little late.
And then have, after the audience here has had an opportunity to ask questions, and maybe each of you'd like to make a statement.
Perfect.
Okay, Tommy, you had a question?
One of the concerns from those that are against incorporation is they brought up to me about that study. And so what do you say to those who have concerns about the study and the company that did the study? That's what they threw at me. Do you
Right,
have-
right. So, you know, again, that's interesting because I've got 11 years of training, you know, as an MD, as a bachelor student, you know, in
Right.
college. And, you know, it's hard to read 130 pages, you know, for anybody to read, you know. So again, I would throw that out there as another, Jim, red herring. The people that are coming up with these false arguments, do I think, you know, when I have to sit there and decipher 130, do I think they did that in an hour? I don't think they did. You know, again, I think they're finding these little things that they want to throw out there to scare people, when if you actually dig into the data, again, think of it as a business plan. No bank in their right mind is going to loan you money if your business plan doesn't hold water. And thank God you guys can trust your Florida legislature, who currently has a copy of that feasibility study. So again, rest assured, if the numbers don't add up, you don't have to even take an MD's word for it. You have people who have been doing this for 30 plus years in the Florida legislature. Don't you know, Tommy, you know, you're in the media business, Ken, you're in the media business, you know, people have been raking me over the coals for just wanting to do the will of the people. And don't you know, from the first day they started dragging my name through the mud, don't you know I was already on the phone with that silo in the Florida House? Guys, is this true? Dr. Rudman, that's not true. Just send us the study. We'll break it down. You don't have to listen to that misinformation. That's our job to handle. So again, rest assured, people more qualified than the tabloid journalists out there, people more qualified than me even, are currently reviewing that feasibility
Okay,
study.
so to them, you say you trust it, you're good with it.
Trust the process.
Okay.
So to that point though, the feasibility study was developed by a group of community leaders in our community, veterans, people with long business experience, did for 2 years, worked very hard to put together income and revenue and create a feasibility study to preserve the funds. They then took that and had a professional firm who's done feasibility studies for successful operations all around the state with a great track record. Look at it and give them feedback and say, before you submit this, you might want to do this, or we think that's fine. So the feasibility study was done by community residents, and it was overseen in some professionalism, wrong word. It was overseen by specific knowledge of a commercial firm who does it all around the state, is recognized by the state as a leader in providing these sort of services.
Okay.
So Navarre Beach has employed that same firm in doing our feasibility study. We have a lot, so did Perdido Keys, so did Siesta, so did a lot of organizations. It's a very reputable firm that we're paying our money for their services.
And Tommy, real quick, and then I promise we'll go right here to the crowd. So on the feasibility study, when those complaints were uttered and they're put in print, you know, in these tabloids, I call someone in my district who I trust implicitly, Crestview City Manager Tim Bolden, who I would take a bullet for Tim. He's a good guy. He knows city business. Tim, read this study and tell me what's wrong with it. I'm sure the Crestview City Manager did not appreciate me giving him the task of reading someone else's 130-page feasibility study, but he did. And his response to me is, yeah, this is standard stuff. This is what every city does. There's nothing ridiculous in here. Now, for all the people who have braved the hurricane tonight, I would love for y'all to just go around. I mean, and if you don't have a question, that's fine. We'll move on to someone else. Y'all want to start over here and go around? Does anybody? Dave, you got anything? You good?
I don't know the advantages or disadvantages of incorporating.
I'll tell you real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Just sum it up.
In kindergarten.
People come
Flintstone.
to my office and they say, Why don't we have sidewalks in Holly by the Sea? I'm at the state level, I can't help you, that's a local problem. People asked me, they said, the car rider line on Sandstone in Holly by the Sea, car rider line's down our neighborhood. Why don't they just pave a little side avenue for them to park in so I can get to my house? I'd say, not my problem, that's a local problem. People talk about their ditches, they talk about their infrastructure, they talk about why are our lights not synced? And when I follow up on that, it's because we are treated like a rural area. We're not a priority. So again, I can't help you. It's great that I'm from Navarre. I want each and every one of you to vote for me, but you're giving me problems that only a local community can solve. And a point that was made at the last roundtable, and we'll move on to the next question. Your $270, that's not gonna make synced lights happen in Navarre. It's not gonna build a pedestrian overpass so you can get from one side of 98 to, your $270 is a drop in the bucket. But what it does, it enables your city of Navarre to go out and apply for grants that don't have to be paid back. It allows your elected officials, your mayor of Navarre would come to me with a wish list of 10 items. Here are 10 things we need state money from. Can you please take some taxes from Orlando and spend those in Navarre? And don't you know, I would in a heartbeat, but someone has to come to me and ask for it's great that y'all want a pedestrian walkway to safely get across 90, but I can't be king in Tallahassee and tell Ron DeSantis, I need a pedestrian overpass.
So
y'all need to.
what you're saying is, we need somebody in the local area to ask for our tax dollars to work for us.
Exactly, and it's not a process that I can start. It has to come from the people petitioning me.
Now, the $270 for the local, that's on top of all the other taxes that we already pay, that we ask for that money.
Exactly.
Okay.
So think of it this way. At the last roundtable, they talk about leveraging money. They talk about economies of scale. Everyone's $100, $270. Then when you have a big project in Navarre that costs, let's say, $10 million to solve 98. Lord knows it'll probably take a lot more than $10 million. Let's say you're mayor of Navarre, your city council. Let's say they visit me in Tallahassee and they fill out appropriation forms, which are not easy, by the way. But my LA Carrie would be glad to help y'all with those forms. But let's say you want to fix 98 to the tune of $10 million. And a mayor of Navarre comes and says, well, you know, we've got $800,000 that we have raised that we are willing to put towards it. You're a lot more likely to get money from the state when your local community has skin in the game. Okay, so that's where your $270 pays off, because it gets you $10 million. It gets you $8 million from people who live elsewhere. The money that if we don't take it, you know, I don't know about y'all, have y'all ever gotten a refund from the state of Florida because Navarre didn't accept any tax money back? I'm still waiting for my refund. So that money's gonna get spent. Would you rather it be spent in
Nelson?
Orange County, Orlando? Would you rather it be spent here in Navarre? And again,
Well, I'd like my tax dollars that I paid.
and again, not knowing how you're going to vote, not knowing if you're a yes or a no. If this vote turns out to be a no, my answer is, well, you still have a county commission. So if Navarre's not incorporated, each and every one of you needs to hit up your county commissioner and say, I'd really like a pedestrian overpass. I'd really like that eyesore at Coral and 98. I'd really like you to ask Representative Rudman for an appropriation to move that pumping station. So again, you have representation. I just like it to be local. I'd like it to be closer to the people. Any other questions? I'm sorry, Jim, did you want to jump in real quick?
So I just wanted to say that there's a subtle, potential subtle benefit to having someone local that can speak for the local constituency with the power of a municipality.
Yes.
And the example I want to provide you is, there are times when the federal government and the state government are giving out money to communities. They have a cash check and they're saying, we have this money. Do you have a shovel-ready project that we can fund in your community? And the city of Gulf Breeze, who has a planning staff who says, yes, we can execute. The city of Milton, who has a staff that says, yes, we have people. If you give us money, the county's a shepherd. The county doesn't have people for doing a bunch of implementation. They're not funded that well. They're a very lean organization. But when you're a city, you can raise your hand and say, we have the projects identified and we have the staff that can execute, and state and federal money flows. That's a subtle one that people don't talk about, but it's real in the state of Florida. I mean, the Infrastructure Act after COVID put trillions of dollars, billions, trillions around the country, but put a lot of money into infrastructure development in the state of Florida. There was one project where we put in improving storm resilience on the beach that to the state, but it was already a shovel-ready project that Gulf Breeze raised their hands and the money went choom, because they're a city and they could ask for it with the power of the municipality. That's a powerful thing.
And Kathy, I promise we'll get to you. If I can piggyback on that. So if you vote no to incorporation, I expect to see you at the next legislative delegation meeting in Santa Rosa County, which is held right before we go into session. And I challenge you to sit there, because that's a public meeting where every special interest, every municipality comes before your legislative delegation. And so when we talk about people asking for money, state money that's from other sources, you will see the litany of people that line up to ask your delegation for favor. You will have the mayor of Gulf Breeze come up with probably 10 items of where they want money specifically for Gulf Breeze. And again, this is not a knock, this is just the truth. You will have the mayor of Milton come up with her 10 favorite projects of what she'd like funding for. I challenge the people who vote no against incorporation, come to that legislative delegation meeting and see how many times the community of Navarre is mentioned for appropriations. You will be amazed at how few the times come up where the word Navarre is mentioned for funding.
I agree.
And that's why the money stays.
Kathy, I'm sorry, I said we could get to you.
Okay, just a couple questions. In Laurel Hill, our mills had to be 3.5. In order to have skin in the game, we had to have over three mills. So y'all are asking 0.95. And then also on your question as far as the pothole situation, we were incorporated in like 1915. There ain't a road out there that's got potholes. Just because you're a city doesn't mean they're gonna come
That's
fill all
true.
the potholes.
That's absolutely
And then
true.
Also, as far as not having representation here, just from an outsider looking in, I know in Okaloosa, we have our commissioners meetings on the north and the south end. Maybe if they could have one down here at Santa Rosa, they would get a lot more of you people here
That's-
to actually
that's a
come
great
and
idea.
talk to your
Great
your
idea.
commissioners, and maybe get something done.
That is a fantastic
If
recommendation.
y'all do not get involved with your local
Yes.
government, be it 5 councilmen, 5 commissioners, you're not gonna have nobody listen. You're gonna have 5 people sitting up there doing what each one of them wanna do, and they're not gonna represent.
Yeah.
I promise I won't fall asleep at this board though. And I'm not kidding about people falling asleep.
Scott,
at the
Scott, I
board.
thought for sure you were gonna get that question, but I guess not.
Involved, be it a city
Amen.
or a county.
Can she be
You
heard?
have to be involved.
Can the people
I
at,
agree.
can the people over the video hear that?
Can I say,
So let me,
So basically, she said it's important for everybody to be involved. If the people of Navarre don't want to incorporate this thing, it's dead, we don't go any further. But that doesn't mean, okay, all your problems are going to get solved. It doesn't mean your problems are going to get solved if you do incorporate, right? It just means that the government's a little bit more local to you. It's down the street instead of up the county. Kathy was talking about maybe holding alternate meeting, every other meeting maybe be held on the south end of the county, which I think, Kathy, that is a fantastic blueprint. Now, again, I want to stress that after the recent primary election, the people of Santa Rosa County have spoken. They have no qualms about changing leadership when they don't listen to the people. There's no doubt about that. And again, I want to reiterate my support for the incoming members of the commission. And I think you're right. I think to some degree, I think,
It's a large county.
yeah, well, and to be honest with you, to some degree,
Needs representation.
to some degree, this straw poll is really gonna be a referendum on the county commissioners. How well of a job do the citizens in our catchment area of Navarre, how good of a job do they think that the county commissioners are doing listening to Navarre? And I actually have a lot of faith in our incoming commissioners. So again, not the end of the world if the straw vote goes negative. We just need to know. We need to know what you guys want us to do. We've laid out some of the positives. The negatives, obviously, is that nothing's free. I mean, obviously, to get more local services, your taxes will go up. We've given you an idea of what they're estimating. Destin's, but everyone thinks Destin streets are paved in gold. Kathy, you mentioned our millage rate isn't even supposed to be 1. Destin pays for Destin with a 1.6 millage rate.
Well,
So it can be done, but again, these are ballpark figures.
I do want to piggyback on what she said. Again, being on a council, I looked out for our citizens. I'm looking out for my citizens. I look out across the board for every citizen in America.
That's right.
But when we started talking millage rates, it's a budget thing. Every year, again, your council, you're going to have your budget department. You're going to have a CPA. You're going to have accountants working. When you are looking at that millage rate, if you go below 3.5, it is very hard to get state dollars. Very hard. They want to see you have major skin in the game. And in fact, they like to see 50-50 matching. If your project's 10 million, they want to see $5 million. Now, that's just the way you see it. I've been with Dr. Rudman, I've been with Shane Abbott, I've been there with you.
That's right.
And if it passes everything, it doesn't mean it's gonna get through the legislature.
That's
If
right.
you've seen the odds
That's
of the
right.
legislative bills, 1,800 from the House, right? 18, give or take, 100 bills go in? How many? 1873 go in. Okay, and what's the statement? All good bills go to the Senate floor to die.
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's part of it, but then it's gotta pass, the Senate.
Don
And-
Yates, I did not say that.
No.
All right, Don, no. I look forward to seeing Don. But again, when you look at it in the end, there's, how many carry, 300 and give or take? 373 bills are what's actually passed. So, are the odds good? Absolutely not.
Exactly.
They're not good. But this is where it comes, and again, like I said, I don't have anything in the fight here, but the people that want this, you had better get out
Yeah.
and pound the pavement,
Yeah.
and just the opposite, because they're gonna be doing the same thing. You're going to, if it makes it to the legislative body, you had better be there for every committee. You better come in force to let the committees know.
Like you did
Yes, I did.
for the military bill
Yes,
that
I
I got
did.
passed.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
absolutely.
So you better, and again, if you're against it, you've got to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Well, I saw all of the Chinese citizens show up one day, like 300.
You were there that
Yeah,
day. I remember.
380 something of them filling the legislative chambers. But again, it was a disinformation campaign.
That's right.
So things can happen that change things, but be prepared, be proactive. That's all I can say is be proactive. Whatever your feelings are, be proactive. Dig deep into the finances because they do go deep. And what runs everything? Money.
Real quick, I understand what Scott's saying. We do love for there to be skin in the game. We need skin in the game to fix 98. So again, let your county commissioners know this has to be a priority to fix 98. But Scott, I agree with you, but I do want to let the citizens of Milton, Florida know that I was able to get y'all appropriations 2 sessions ago where there was zero skin in the game. So it does happen. Like I say, we like it a whole lot more when you say we have to pay less instead of paying more. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, we have a statement.
Yes.
Mr. John Beach.
I'm always for limited government.
Yes, sir.
I can't believe you aren't either, Dr. Rubin, knowing some of you.
Yeah.
But we sit here tonight and I hear all of this, wonderful things are gonna be done because we incorporate. We all know that's probably not gonna happen because more government has never been our answer. And what you're asking now is more government, and you're thinking, wonderful, it's gonna be the answer to our problems. Hallelujah. That ain't gonna happen, people, so just keep that in mind. I believe that we need more individuals into communicating with government, but that's where our problem is. We don't need more of you people.
Right.
We need more of us people.
No,
So that's my thought.
So John, I totally agree, but again, the way you want to look at this is not more government. This is replacing a government that the citizens feel like are not listening to their concerns. So what they're doing, instead of letting 5 people who don't live here decide, let's put in the $8 general in Navarre, you are now asking, maybe you're asking Jim Sutton, Jim, I don't want an $8 general, and you're my city council. So again, don't look at it as another layer, because that's just not true. When Sophie and I lived in Niceville, Florida, we didn't see it as another layer. What's that now?
How do you know Jim's gonna do right?
Well, because you know where Jim lives.
Well, I know where you live.
That's true, you do.
I'm just saying that we need to really think about these things
Right.
before we jump into them.
Right.
I just have always thought that less government is better,
Right.
and I believe that.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
But-
Absolutely right.
but we gotta, I don't see anything Milton's got we don't have. You know, we talk about Milton, nobody wants to go to Milton, but I don't see any more that they have than we have. I've lived in Florida 18 years, so it's not like I'm a newcomer, but I want to do the right thing too, like everybody in this room.
Uh-huh.
I just wanna throw some things that I think are food for thought.
So I think, so a couple things. If you want to see a fair distribution of tax, if you want to see a county where people are happy,
That ain't never.
well,
You're dreaming.
go one block from where I live in Holly by the Sea, Edgewood Drive, where we spent I don't know how much, and again, county project. Thank you, county commissioners. They installed sidewalks down to Edgewood. My wife and I, we don't go down to Edgewood on those sidewalks because they're littered with weeds already. So in other words, good intentions, there's no one looking after it. Now, compare that.
Hell is paved with them.
Compare that and compare the bike path we have, for example, on Navarre Beach, right, where it's got cracks, and Sophie, we've ridden that bike path. Compare that with what they have in Walton County, down on 30A. Look at the bridges they built with their tax money. Look at the bike paths they have. Look at how everything is cared for. I believe that's all the citizens of Navarre are asking for. Again, we appreciate what's spent here, but we have needs that, when I'm trying to listen to my constituents, I'm hearing needs that are not being addressed. They're asking me to address them, and I'm not in the capacity to address them. I'm at the state level. So my simple response to the citizens of Navarre, if these things really matter to you, right, here are your options. And frankly, I don't care which one you pick. You just tell me which one you want. And you know, John, that's what we're gonna do. If you represent the majority, if you agree that, look, I don't want another 5 council members, that's fantastic. But then, you know, you have to understand, when you come to me and complain about my street light being shot out, that's not a state priority, that's a local
I
priority.
promise not to do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I would want to do that myself, or take care of it with somebody I knew.
Well,
I
and-
would not put off my problem. That's what we do in this country too much. We look toward
That's
guys
right.
like you
That's right.
to do our job.
That's
And
right.
That's not right.
That's
And
right.
That's where we are today, guys, in the mess we're in. God, who can even imagine the situation this country's in? And it's because we think government's got all the answers.
Right.
I just don't.
And John, so for those of y'all that don't know, I've known John for what, John, 15, 20 years? For a long, long time. And John, you're correct. When I was sitting where you sat, I felt exactly the same as you. So think of what's changed in the last 2 years. I now have a different perspective. I see how it works. I see how the game's, I see how some communities get this money from the state, and they have wonderful things to show for it. And I come home to my district, it's like, we're not leveraging this. We're not making maximal advantage of our base here in Navarre. So again, you're absolutely right. Hopefully, you know, it's normal for people to trust their doctor. So hopefully,
That's one thing, I don't trust the.
you don't trust politicians. You don't trust, but just trust that I'm seeing things that you can't possibly dream of, but you can buy my book when I retire, and I'll reveal all. All right, guys. One more thing, and I think we have to go after
I just
that.
want to say one thing, that 30A is not a city.
Exactly. Exactly, and they don't want to incorporate because they're treated properly. That's my point.
30A is how many miles long?
26. 26. Can I?
That's my point. If Navarre looked like 38, there'd be no, this meeting would be empty.
No,
It would be
Can we get some order in the room, please?
What we're gonna do right here before we close it out, guys, is we're gonna give each one of you a closing statement. Since you brought it up first, Mr. Scott, go right ahead.
Jim, so, again, I was on the council of the city of Laurel Hill. At one point, I thought we could salvage Laurel Hill. I was a diehard, we're gonna make this place work. Again, my military background is, when you go into a command, you at least leave it as good as you found it, or make it better, right? So, that's what my initial goal was, and then I figured out that this is not going to work for this city. And we actually had a referendum go on the ballot to dissolve the city charter. Again, with a disinformation campaign, it didn't pass. Well, again, re-elected to the city council, even though I was avid for dissolving the city charter. And I was re-elected, how's that sound? So, I was re-elected because, but what happened is, in our corner, the northeast corner of Laurel Hill is mostly rural land. Of 174 acres, there's only 20 of us living there, okay? And we're paying for acreage in our ad valorem taxes. We're paying a lot of money. We're paying a franchise fee on our electric. We're paying a communications fee. Our city workers that are out on the street, there's only 3, if that tells you anything. But, so we got together. I had to recuse myself from the vote being council member, but we got together, put a petition into the city to de-annex ourselves from the city. So we de-annexed because our government couldn't support us. And it had to go to a referendum vote. And again, if the city itself had the power to vote on that referendum, we would have stayed. But again, it only was allowed to be voted on by the people that lived in that geographic area. And we had 4 people that opposed. Don't know who they were, but they opposed. I will say, we talk about money, we're talking about it here. We've got a friend of mine, he raises cattle, he's on 20+ acres. He's saving well over $1,000 a year, paying taxes to the city, which he gained nothing from because he was on a state road and a county road. They provide no services. Cities provide no services in that jurisdiction. As a council member, I was on the water board. Well, not really. I was a representative for the water department. You've got to have money to be able to provide fire hydrants. And I said, if you don't know, you need a fire hydrant every 700 feet, okay? We have places, we had a house burned down 3 months ago. There wasn't a fire hydrant close enough to get a line to it, so we were transiting. So there's all these things that come up, but now I'm in a different position, and I'm on the fire board, and I'm gonna look at getting fire hydrants to stop that. But we de-annexed from the city's area because of the fact they can't support us. And those are the questions you're gonna have to ask your people that are putting your city government together. We didn't even get into mayor, council, strong mayor, weak mayor. There's so many things. What's your structure gonna be? Who's gonna be your city manager? Who's gonna be your legal people? Are you ready to pay Muni code for what it's gonna cost to have every code there is in the state of Florida? Who's gonna be your attorney? You need a specific municipal law attorney. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't hire the guy that's been doing family law and expect him to know how to deal with Tallahassee. That's it, I'm done.
Mr. Sutton?
So, I think the people of Navarre are looking for some more focus on problems that they have that impact quality of life, that could be addressed by the county but aren't currently being addressed by the county. And so they're looking for some help. And as good as Dr. Rudman is, he can't do it at a state level because we own the problem locally. And so we have to find local solutions. Are we getting our fair share of the focus? Are we getting the parks? Do we have pickleball courts? Do we have sidewalks? Do we have tennis courts? Do we have soccer fields for our kids in high school down here? No. Where's the pickleball stadium and targeted to go? Up off Interstate 10. I asked some real estate agents to tell me, what does a $2,000 house cost in Milton, Jay, Navarre, and Navarre Beach to know where our taxes are. So the same person living in the same house pays 6 times the taxes when you live on Navarre Beach. pays 4 times the taxes if you live in Navarre. But the question that we have is, for this money that we're paying, are we getting that back in a quality of life? And there's a lot of us who think that we aren't yet getting that focus. And we hope this is an effort that develops that. It's a great community, great place to live, and we're just hoping to get a little more focus for this community,
Right.
as Gulf Breeze does, as the city of Milton does, because when you're a city, you have the ability to attract those special things that represent you. Make sense?
We're gonna have you go last, Joe.
All right.
Ms. Masters, go right ahead.
As far as I'm concerned, I think that Dr. Joel Rudman is exactly what we need. And I wanna thank Wes Seiler for never giving up on doing what he's doing. He gets my vote all day long as well, and everybody better wake up, because you know what, we are in trouble, and we do need help, and I'm not a government person, but this is a little bit different as far as I'm concerned, and it's time to clean up this community in this town.
Mr. Lamb?
Hey, thank you, I appreciate it, I appreciate y'all having me here tonight, it's kind of unexpected. I want to thank Wes for everything that he's done. He catches a lot of flack, but he's a exceptional individual, and he works very hard for, and he catches, like I said, a lot of heck. I just want to encourage anybody who, on either side, I challenge you to think about, what your decision is. Why do you want to incorporate? Why do you not? Take those reasons and go take a look. I don't want to incorporate, okay? Or what is it that you want in Navarre? All of those things. Go educate yourself, and don't just get off of social media, okay? Because that is poison. Go to a reputable source, look somebody in the eye, come to your representative, say, hey, is there a possibility? Because nobody can nail down and say, yes, 100% I can do this, okay? You can't do that, because there's lots of other people that make decisions. Hey, is there a possibility that if we do incorporate, can we get A, B, and C done? Because this is my short list of things that I really care about, that I would like to see taken care of if we incorporate. Is there a possibility of this being taken care of? Yes, there is. Don't listen to Jim, Bob, and Mary down the street. Go talk to somebody who you can hold accountable. Your elected officials, okay? Talk to those individuals, yes. And when you incorporate, you have elected individuals, people you hold accountable. That's how it works. Make your decisions educated, quit listening to so-and-so down the street, and that's all I have to say.
I agree with that. Be informed, make educated decisions.
Absolutely, be informed.
Dr. Joe?
Thank you, Frank. So Tommy, thank you for coming all the way down here. Again, Tommy's one of those North End people that I think he might feel a little hated tonight. And Tommy, I promise you, the people of Navarre hold no ill will towards North End of the county. It's just that again, they have eyes. They look around, and just like the people in Pace have eyes. I'm sure there's things in Pace that they wish were better. There's things in Chumuckla that need to be better. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with people wanting their voices heard. And Ken, listen, like I said, I think you brought an air of authenticity this evening. Like I said, that was maybe one bit of feedback we got last time. Is people said, "Well, where's the mean guy? Where's the hateful guy?" And thank you for being the mean guy. And
Sure.
But the beautiful thing here is that we are able to have a respectful discussion, because people have asked me, well, where's the person who disparages you in the press? Why don't you have them sitting next to you? That's not a civil discourse. This is what a civil discourse looks like, and I appreciate each and every one of you for being here tonight, whether you want to incorporate or not, because again, you didn't elect a tyrant, you didn't elect a king. If I wanted to, I could have incorporated you last session, and I didn't. That's not what you elected me to do. You elected me to listen to you. It's hard to listen when we have these people on the perimeter. A lot of these people don't even live in the Navarre area, and they're screaming at me. They're drowning you out. They're thinking their 3 voices are worth more than your 3,000. So that is why I asked the pro-movement, the group that wants to incorporate, I demanded that we're not doing anything until they show me proof of majority support. By all means, I should be the most hated person to that group. I actually attended a no incorporation movement meeting. I was at their original meeting. I'm the one that gave them their original title. If you notice, they've rebranded themselves No Inc. What were they originally called? Protect Navarre. I'm the one that gave them that idea. I attended their meeting and I raised my hand and said, well, it sounds like you guys should call yourselves Protect Navarre. You notice they scrubbed their name of all record of that. I can get you the Facebook post that shows you that both myself and Jerry Cooey were at that original meeting. So again, we're trying to be open-minded about this, but the facts are the facts and they're not gonna change. The mayor of Gulf Breeze is still gonna come to me next session with a list of 10 items that need funding. The mayor of Jay, God bless him in Jay. I love the people of Jay and I wish I could deliver more for them. These are the best people on earth, on par with the people of Navarre. So the mayor of Jay is rightfully gonna come with his list of priorities. The mayor of Milton, we love the people in Milton. The mayor of Crestview. But again, there is no mayor of Navarre to come with a wish list. And don't you know, being from here, having opened a business here 20 years ago, don't you know I would love to give back to the community, and there's a simple way to do that. And again, if you guys vote no against incorporation, we will do the will of the people, but I fully expect all of you who vote no to turn up at the next legislative delegation meeting. It will probably be in December. Listen to the wish list of what other communities ask for and receive, and I want you all to notify your county commissioners that you expect the voices of the people of Navarre to be heard, because currently they are the ones representing you. And thank you for your time and for watching this evening.